Hey everyone, this is Matt Johnson with Viral Marketing. So excited for you to join us today. This is the Real Estate Realities Hangout with Todd Tremonte. So just want to welcome Todd briefly. How you doing, man?
Doing really well, man. I'm excited for today. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is going to be a good one. So we're talking about what to say at the right times to get clients. So we're going to go through some like scripts, objection handlers, all kinds of good stuff. So we got a lot of content. Todd's got a really good giveaway at the end that we're going to talk about. So first, before we get started, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to bring them to Todd and his guest during the Hangout. So if you submit them right through the Q&A app, or if you post them as comments on this Google Plus page, I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll bring the questions to the guys while we're talking. So, but with that, let's turn it over to Todd, and let's talk about our special guest, and let's get into it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. I've got Hal Cohn with us today, and I'm really excited to have Hal for probably a reason that you guys might not expect. Hal's been a real estate buddy of mine for a while now. He and I have done a little bit of consulting together, and I've gotten to see him really kind of launch a new business. So before anybody reacts to that, whether you're a brand new agent or you're a long-time experienced agent, there's a lot you can learn from what I'm going to ask Hal to kind of share with us today. And basically there's two big things that I hope you take away before we finish up today. So, you know, you see agents that usually kind of come at it from one of two ways. There's people that, those of you right now that know what to do, but you're not doing it. And then there's a bunch of you that are ready to work, but you don't exactly know what to do. You get up every day, you're ready to work, and you're not exactly sure what's the thing that I should be doing next that's going to actually produce great results for me. So what I like about Hal, and what I think you guys will pick up on, is when Hal knows what to do, he does it. So when Hal gets the information he needs, he takes action, and he's getting results. So he's not yet to the place where we're going to tell you, look how Hal turned his business from 10 deals to 500 deals. That's not even what he wants to do. But what I think you can pick up from Hal is get the information you need and then go take action and then build on that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I've got some really exciting stuff. I've got kind of my second screen over here with some notes on some really important languaging stuff that I want to make sure I share today. What I like about Hal, and you'll pick up on again, is a lot of times Hal will say, hey, what should I say in this scenario? And then 2 days later he's like, I said it, and it worked. And that's always encouraging for me, but that should be encouraging for you guys too. That we're going to talk today about some things that work, they're proven. Some of you guys might have different ways that you approach it, that's fine. But if you know what you need to do, you just need to go do it. If you don't know what you need to do, we're going to talk today about some things that will work for you. Literally, just here are some words to say, and here's the times to say it, and it should produce these results. So that should be a lot of fun. And at the very end, if you stick with us till the very end, I'll give you a quick link, and you can get my notes from this call with a lot of the details of what we've been talking about. So that just kind of makes things easier. Feel free to take notes as you go, but if you hang tight with us, I'll give you kind of some simple bullet points on what we've been talking about. So, Hal, what I'd love to have you share with everybody kind of right out of the gate is, you know, how long have you been doing this? And when you and I kind of met and started working together, you know, what was your level of confidence when you approached a new client opportunity, a new buyer or a new seller? You know, how did you approach that?
Okay, so for me, real quick rundown. Give you a little bit of history on me first. High school science teacher for about 3 years, healthcare IT consultant for about 10 years, and decided to get into real estate as a business and entrepreneur last year. And about July, I passed my board. And then I'm like, okay, how am I going to launch this? What am I going to do? There's a lot of things online. Found Todd online, watched some videos, contacted him in that regard, and finally in the fall time frame, I got to the point where I knew I needed, at this point, I was like, how am I going to get lead generate? So, you know, doing some cold calling, using various scripts, that type of thing. And so that's how I got started, and then, you know, actually got in contact with Todd, chatted more, got more specific as far as what I wanted to do and how I wanted to build a business, and that's kind of why I was drawn to Todd, was because whenever I first saw him, the fact that, you know, number one for me was Christ was the center of his life, and then secondly, the next piece of the puzzle for me was just growing a business and having a life outside of real estate too, but really being really service-oriented and taking care of your clients. So that really resonated with me, but then I just needed that actual action plan to actually do it. I'm like, okay, you see all this stuff online, and everybody's got access to it. So you can take it and run with it or not. And with it being out there, and a lot of people aren't running with it, so it's like, okay, I'm like, I got enough drive and determination. If I've got it, I can do it and I can implement it. I'm an implementer. So that's how I got started. And that's kind of my mentality. It's like, take it and run with it. Fail forward versus being scared of failure.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of how I remember it too. So let's just talk about, at that point in your business, before you really had a great game plan in place, if you had a client opportunity, what was your level of, let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is afraid, super afraid, and 10 is I've got no fear whatsoever. I'm ready to dominate this. Where do you think you were?
Oh, I would say 1, scared to death. And I don't know if you want me to give you my first scenario, the first day that I actually had a listing appointment or not. You tell me.
Well, sure. Give us a snapshot of that, because that'll be valuable to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. It's a Saturday, or actually, I think it was Labor Day last year. I'm on the phone, third dial that day. First time really actually using Mojo and using the dialer. Lady picks up, hey, this is Hal Cohn with Keller Williams Realty, talking her through it. And I said, what's taking you to get her to say where she's going? And I said, well, why are you doing that? And she's like, that's personal. I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, okay. I was like, well, let me ask you this. Have you heard about my guaranteed sell program? And so that put the brakes on her for a minute. And so I got through it, and I actually got an appointment. But I had no listing presentation, no idea what I was going to say, how I was going to do it, etc. And she wanted to meet in 3 hours. So here I am running around, with my heart racing, my wife runs in the door with my daughter, and we're trying to throw everything together, and I rushed down there, and I had children's music playing the whole time because that was stuck in the CD player whenever I get there, so not very motivational. so I get there, I build up some rapport, and I get the listing. And I'm like, I knew in my head, I knew what I wanted to articulate. I didn't articulate it well. I flew down to their house to go to their domain versus having them come to my domain, and just different things like that were not the way that I planned to build my business, but that's what happened that particular time. And since then, I've changed my model, changed my mindset, and doing things a lot differently, and that really resonate with me and really help take care of my clients. So that was a fun-filled day and a lesson learned, and a negative turned to a positive now.
Yeah, the funny thing about that story is that's what all of us did, right? You start a business, someone's like, can you do this? And you go, of course we can do that. And then you go home and you go, how do I do that? Right? So, and we've all done the same thing you did. It's like, I don't know how, but somehow I have a signed listing. I don't know what to do now. And then now I remember you telling me that story, and you're like, I'm not sure I even want this listing anymore. But so let me kind of take an aside here real quick and just talk about how that call, some languaging on how that call would go now that you kind of know what you're doing. When we're talking, we're training folks on kind of what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. So here's some good information on that. When you have an opportunity on a phone with the potential client, you want to make sure that it's constantly about the value that you can deliver to them, right? I mean, sometimes if you just make enough calls and you're tenacious enough, you're gonna get some appointments. But I call it a cadence, and so I train my team on, you want to have this cadence to your call. You want to kind of open it up and make it conversational, and then you want to offer value, and then you want to go for the appointment. And then you want to offer more value, then you want to go for the appointment. And you want to continue to offer value and ask them if they want it, and if they want it, that's when you're going to try to transition for the appointment. So a lot of times when we describe it, it just kind of sounds like a ping pong match, right? Value, appointment, value, appointment, value, appointment. But every time I go for the appointment, they're not necessarily shouting no at me. They might ask a question, or they might say, well, I'm not really sure, I need to talk to someone else. And I'm going to continue to layer on value to the point where that person's literally going to say, like, God, there's so much that this guy has to offer that I want. Absolutely, I want to get together with somebody. I want to get together with them. So, for instance, like a buyer follow-up script might sound something like, hey, Hal, hey, it's Todd Tremonti. I was just calling. It looked like you were searching for houses in the Roanoke area. I'm just curious, are you only looking at houses in Roanoke, or are you also looking at houses in other areas as well? So that would be the question, just to kind of get somebody talking. Once they start talking, it doesn't really matter whether they say only Roanoke or they say, oh no, we're open to anything in the area with good schools. It doesn't really matter. I want to take notes and I want to pay attention, but neither one is good or bad as far as setting the appointment, right? So I want to get it opened up, and then I want to offer some value. I just want to say, hey, you know how, sounds like Roanoke's the area you guys really want to be. Would it be valuable to you if I could get you a list of homes available in the Roanoke area that fit your price range, that are absolutely active and available, that they're not under contract or they don't have any offers going on them right now? Would that be helpful for you? Sure. And then I get confirmation, I get approval from you, I get a thumbs up, and then I layer on a little bit more value. I say, great, hey, if I could also get you a list of homes that nobody else knows about, we call that our private portfolio. If I could get you a list of those homes that meet your criteria in Roanoke, great schools, in your price point, that are not even being publicly marketed, that nobody else knows about yet, would that be valuable for you? You know,
yeah,
they're
sure.
usually going to say, yeah, great. Awesome. Okay, great. Hey, Wednesday afternoon work for you, or would Saturday morning be better?
Thursday afternoon.
And then I'm gonna pull back and qualify, right? So what a lot of people are doing, this just to give people actionable, usable language, what a lot of people are doing is before they set that appointment, they're trying to qualify too much. What area are you looking in? What's your timeline? What's your budget? Have you spoken with the lender? Every time I ask you that question, usually what that does is create a little more separation and causes that person to kind of pull back and breaks our rapport a little bit because they're not ready to give me that yet. Once you've decided, man, this guy's got some really valuable stuff I'd like to go get, then asking you those specifics makes sense. I've already chosen to meet with Hal, so I'm going to go ahead and give Hal the information he needs to make sure that our time together is valuable, right? So I'm just kind of taking this opportunity to share that because you're talking about you were prospecting and it was kind of like I just asked her why not, and then I found myself with an appointment, which is great. The lesson to take from that is Jim Rohn always says you can make up for in work what you lack in talent, right? So you can make up for in numbers what you lack in skill. I can be a world-class prospector and script and languaging guy, but if you'll work harder than me, you can produce more than me. What I'm saying here is when you orchestrate those opportunities to have a potential client on the phone, the pattern you want to follow is open it up with a conversation, offer value, pile on some more value, and then go for the appointment. Now, if you had not said Thursday, if you said, well, you know, I don't think we're ready to get together, I'd say, okay, hey, I totally understand. If I could show you how you could purchase a home in this super competitive market, and I could guarantee you that you could save $5,000 on that process, is that something you'd like to know more about?
Yes,
I think I would want to know more about that. Great. Then which would be a better time for us to get together and talk through that? Would Thursday or Saturday be better? So I'm going to offer value, and then I'm going to go for the appointment. If there's any reluctance to the appointment, I'm going to tie some specific value to that specific reluctance if I can, and I'm going to add more value and go for the appointment. So I just want to give some actionable languaging, what to say, when to say it, how to say it, based kind of on your story, because I think your story is pretty normal for people that are willing to take some action. So,
yeah, sure.
What are some other things through that process of your, you know, you and I have spent some time together. We don't need to get too into it, but you came and spent a day or two here in my office, and when you got back within a week or so, I know you picked up a couple of buyers and a listing, and I know some maybe all of those were referrals, but I know your feedback to me was that the languaging and the process gave you confidence to be much, much more selective and careful, and that business looked a lot better than that first deal that was just kind of happenstance. So tell me a little bit more about that, and I can ask you some specific questions too.
Yeah, most certainly. So to begin with, when I first got back, like Todd said, great time out there, and really very informative, and really gave me a lot of stuff to bring back and actually implement with a strategic plan to move forward. And so when I got back, I had a referral from a family friend that works at a bank, sent some buyers to me, and I was the first person they met with. Rather than just showing up at their house or at a restaurant or somewhere, we actually met at the office, went through the whole buyer presentation, showing them what kind of value I could add to the process for them and help them find the home of their dreams, basically and really get to know them and really learn more about them to be able to make it go as quickly as possible for them, as well as to get them exactly what they want. So we went out the first Saturday. We looked at 4 houses, and we ended up making an offer that day on the 4th house we saw. And it was because of the fact that we'd had that meeting, we'd had those conversations, and we were really in tune with what they wanted, where they wanted to be, etc. So that was very beneficial. And then on the listing side, what I did was did kind of what Todd was saying, private portfolio type thing. I had a couple that I met with, another referral, and they came in for a listing appointment, went through the value, they could really see the value, and they really bought into staging and professional photography and all of that. And I said, well, I've got a stager you're going to need to meet with. We're going to need to do some things to the house first. You tried to sell it a couple years ago. We can't show it like that again. We've got to reposition it, and we've got to have it, you know, top of its class. And they bought in hook, line, and sinker and put the money into it. So I had it for 3 weeks to get prepared, painting, new countertops, different stuff like that, and then we actually put it on the market, and within 48 hours we had multiple offers. So, you know, and that was because they actually bought into it. So that's the type of client that I want to work with, desire to work with, and plan to work with moving forward. But if it wasn't for me having confidence and, you know, knowing, you know, some of the things that I do in regards to presenting myself to them and providing the value that they're looking for, then I would never do that. I'd just take whoever came along. So.
Yeah. So you said a couple
of things. Did you
things.
have them come to your office for the listing appointment, or was that just a buyer presentation?
Both.
Perfect. So I mean, that's a big transition. That's a big bridge for a lot of agents. So was meeting with Todd and seeing how they run that system, was that part of what gave you the confidence to push for that?
Oh yeah, most certainly. Yeah, and it's one of those things. You know, I know that you know, most real estate agents nowadays, they want to do whatever's quote convenient for the customer, they feel like, versus trying to present themselves as a professional and differentiating. You know, that's the other thing I've really gotten from Todd is, how do I differentiate myself from 15 other agents in the Roanoke Valley for me? And you know, part of that process is, you know, bringing them to my office, and it's not just they just show up. I mean, I actually had my wife come along the first time. We were able to have her. She was my administrative assistant or receptionist that day. Greeted them at the door. You know, we have beverage menus. We've got snacks. We've got beverages. We've got, you know, a multiple page listing presentation for them and buyer presentation. It takes about an hour and a half, and they and everybody loved it. You know, it's like the buyers actually met with another agent after they met with me. Met with them for like 15 minutes later that week, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, we were so blown away by you." By the time that we left, we met with this guy, and he was like a joke basically. And you know, we're definitely going to use you, and then you know, find out what they like. And I sent them a little something to work. We'll work later that week as far as you know, thank you for visiting with me. You know, get a little card, a little something to eat that's from Roanoke proper, and that type of thing. So. You know, just building a relationship, giving them value, showing them that I do things differently, that I'm not just looking for a paycheck, but I'm actually wanting to build a relationship and, you know, take great care of them.
Yeah, is there Todd, any suggestions on specific phrasing or scripting as far as getting somebody to come into your office?
Yeah. Okay, let me make a quick note, because I had 2 really good notes from what Hal's saying. So, coming into the office. Okay, let me make sure I hit on all these, because I love it. You guys are catching on. I'm always taking notes on these things too, and it's valuable. You can always learn something. I'm here to share with you guys, but one of the main reasons I do this is because I pick up great stuff from the questions y'all ask, or from Matt. It's kind of a third-party question and observation, because he's not in the trenches like we are as much every single day, and you know, I'm picking up good stuff. Hal learned some of this stuff from me, and then he's tweaking it in such a really great way that I'm able to learn something right back from him. So. Real quick, so some languaging on coming into the office. This is challenging for a lot of people, and so let me break this down a little bit so that you guys can implement this right away. Notice what Hal was saying, and this is not a commercial for coming in and spending some time in my office. If you want to do that, we can talk about that later. But the point to be made here is we're talking about days after Hal learned this stuff. He implemented it with confidence, and it worked. And Hal used the word confidence 3 or 4 times, and Matt used the word confidence a couple of times, And everybody's picking up on that because it's such a huge piece of the puzzle. One of the big notes I had for today's call is just to talk about, learn how to train your people or how to present yourself with confidence, even though you may not really feel confident yet, right? So Hal just told you guys the story of his first listing. He tried to give it back a few times. He kept telling me, should I just fire him? Should I just fire him? Should I just fire him? And then within weeks, he had a new system and a new confidence because he had gone through the process of understanding this is what's going to happen without a plan. And this is one of the big things you can do right now to build your confidence in what you can offer to a seller is do a little bit of research on what the average agent in your marketplace is offering a seller. And what I mean when I say offering is what value are they actually delivering the seller? Are they putting a sign in the yard, putting it on the MLS, and crossing their fingers and hoping it sells? Because if that's what most people are doing, and hear me loud and clear, that's what most people are doing. Okay.
Yeah, amen.
Then you can build your confidence pretty quickly by building a system that includes some real genuine value for them. And you can know before you ever step foot in that conference room or kitchen table or wherever that conversation takes place, I can be extremely confident that what I'm going to offer this person is significantly more valuable than what their alternatives are, right? This person is suffering from migraine headaches, and I have the medication for migraine headaches. And there's 47 other options in town. They're all offering them low-dose children's Tylenol, right? It's vaguely even in the same category with what I'm offering them. But I know that it's been proven time and time again that what I'm offering will solve their problem or help them achieve their goal. So you can build your confidence. Maybe you haven't sold 150 houses. Maybe you've sold 0 houses. But you can do the research, see what other people are offering, build a truly valuable process, and then confidently explain how you're going to deliver that. And you can do that with confidence. And that's what Hal was doing. So to answer your question, Matt, how would I communicate why you should come sit down in my office, even if maybe I've never done that before? How would I do that confidently? We can either role play it or I'll just kind of give you the language, but if you feel like you need to jump in and role play with me, one of you guys just go ahead and do that. But I would just say, hey, Hal, that's great. It sounds like you guys are really interested in some of the information that we have for you and some of the systems that we can share with you. And really, you guys would like to get the same results that we've been getting for our clients for a long, long time. Really fast sale with extremely high prices. And really the next best step for you is to sit down with us here in the office. We'll be able to show you some of the tools and the resources that we use to achieve those goals, those results, as well as potentially introduce you to some of the other team members that I work with. I certainly don't do this alone. And we'll be able to really customize a plan for you. So what would be the best time for us to sit down here in the office? Would Thursday evening be better, or would maybe Saturday morning work for you? Now, give me a rebuttal. Why in the world would I come?
I would say, well, why can't you come out to my house? That'd be more convenient for me.
Yeah, hey, that's a very fair question, Hal, and I actually appreciate you asking that because a lot of people are thinking, how are you going to sell my house if you've never been to my house, right? Is that kind of part of your thought process? I totally understand that. Now here's the answer. Hal, I've been doing this for about 14 years. Now, let's step out. If you've only been doing this 2 months, tell the truth, of course. My experience and my expertise tells me how really what we need to do up front, what's beneficial for you up front is for you and I to have a conversation kind of aside from the physical structure of your house. It's time for you to determine whether my expertise and my customized marketing plan is a really good fit for you and your situation. And I need to make a determination whether you're the right kind of client for us and what to offer. We've seen that the very, very best results happen when you and I have that kind of conversation up front. Here in the office, we can make a very professional adult decision. And then, of course, once we decide to work together, see that once we decide, I'm gonna set the pace, I'm assumptive close. Once we decide to work together, I'm going to send my entire marketing team out to the house. I'm going to see it, my stager's going to see it, my photographer's going to see it, potentially my marketing coordinator's going to see it. We're going to do measurements. We're going to find out every single amenity that we can advertise and market for your advantage and your leverage when it comes to negotiation. But the best expert approach to this process is not to do that first, but first to decide whether we're the right fit for each other, whether I'm the right professional and expert for you, and whether you're the right client for me. So which one would be better for us to do that thing first, Thursday night or Saturday morning?
Saturday morning.
Okay, great. Now let's say you gave me another rebuttal. Let's say you said,
Another
look,
rebuttal.
I've talked to 3 or 4 other agents, and they're all coming out to my house. So, thanks but no thanks. I would say, Hal, you make a really, really good point. In our market, there's XYZ number of agents. In my market, there's 23,000 agents. And my guess is that about 22,998, 99 of them would be happy to rush out to your house, basically tell you what you want to hear, and probably produce a pretty similar result. Now, is it okay if I share some market data with you, Hal?
Sure.
As hot as our market is right now, believe it or not, almost half the homes that go on the market don't sell. Isn't that crazy? Doesn't that just sound absurd? In such a hot market still, about half the houses don't sell. So I guess the point I'm trying to make, Hal, is there's kind of the same old, the way things have always been done, and they generally produce a subpar, at best they produce kind of an average result. Just from talking with you for a few minutes, you sound like the kind of guy that's not looking for an average result. And so if you want kind of the status quo, if you want the average result, there's a bunch of people that would be happy to run out to your house. I'm not one of those guys. That's just not how we do business. I'm not willing to give you less than what's best for you. So if that's what you're looking for, it looks like we're just not going to be a good fit. But if you are looking for a plan that would sell your house extremely quickly, usually in less than 7 days, and well above market average, usually between 7 and 8% above the average sales price, I would love to share that information with you. And we know, based on experience and expertise, the best way to do that is to meet here in the office. So I'd love to offer you about 45 minutes, maybe an hour of my time at no charge, no obligation. Either Thursday night I've got 5 o'clock or Saturday morning I've got 10. Which one of those is the easiest for you?
I'll have to check my schedule with my wife and get back to you.
Hey, I hear you loud and clear on that, Hal. I've got a wife too, and you definitely want to keep them happy. Here's what I'm going to do. My schedule fills up really quickly, and I do have several other people that I need to call today. So I'm going to pencil you in. Would Thursday be better to pencil you in or Saturday? I'll pencil you in. You check with your wife, and then just let me know if that's not a good time. That way I've got some time allotted for you. So when you call me back, I haven't offered that to somebody else. Would Thursday or Saturday be better for me to pencil you in?
Let's shoot for Saturday.
Okay, and that's when I'm going to back out, and now I'm going to really qualify all the specifics that unfortunately most of us have been trained to do on the front end, but it feels like losing trust and starting to not want to do business with me. This way I've given you value, compelling reason to meet, compelling reason to come in. Now we've got an appointment made. Now you want to give me that information so that the appointment is not going to be a waste of your time. Is that helpful?
Exactly.
Does that answer the question, Matt?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah,
Okay,
if people
good.
should just pull the recording of this and just listen to that on repeat.
Good. Well, so, that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that if someone's going to spend an hour with us on these things, that they can literally do what you just said: cut, edit, train your team with that, repeat, go put it into action, come back on the next one and tell us how well it worked. If it didn't work, then we'll be on at a different time for that feedback. I'm just kidding.
And one thing I'd like to say is that, with me being a new agent and not having some of the statistics or some of the the sales and the guarantees and selling above market value and that type of thing, I didn't let that impede me from still deciding that I was going to do this. And I do figure out what I actually do bring to the table that's going to be different, what I can do. And I even open it up now. I just say, well, like Todd said, that's the average agent. Do you want to work with the average agent? I do things a little bit differently, and I like to show you what that is. And most people are pretty receptive to that. They don't mind if you're going to do it different, especially if you're going to help them. And that gives them something that kind of intrigues them. It's like, okay, I thought you just threw a sign in the yard, and that's all you had to do when it came to marketing a real estate listing, So, just saying, hey, I'm different, and I'm different intentionally. It has helped me work for me.
That's a great point, and I'm really glad you brought that up because I should have stopped on that. Not everybody is averaging selling homes in less than 7 days. Not everybody is averaging, 7 or 8 or 9% above market value. But if you know what the average agent does, if you've done that research and you've deliberately built a plan to offer more than that, all you've got to talk to them through is what's normal and what you're offering. So that's a great point, Hal. I really appreciate you pointing that out, because I would have glossed over that. A couple other things I picked up on when you were kind of telling us your little story is you met with your potential client and they did not sign right away, which is not ideal. That's a little nerve-wracking at the end. They went and met with a second agent and then very quickly came back to you and said, after meeting with you and meeting with this other person, there was no question. I think you said they only met with him for 15 minutes. You can just imagine how that felt. Like, okay, well, thanks a bunch. We got to run now. And, after about 2 minutes, they were like, okay, we're working with Hal. So that was one of the things I had on my list that I wanted to share today was learn how to make your competition remove themselves from consideration without you having to even be present. You can set the scenario up. Well, they will eliminate themselves, right? So you talked about, be really careful about this. This is what you guys really need. A lot of agents will do it this way. And then what happened is they went and sat down, and this guy did those things that you told them to be wary of, right? Isn't that about probably what happened?
Oh, sure, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you just...
Yeah, and it can be really... Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead.
You're up, go. Okay. I was going to say, it's just, like Todd said, easy to remove competition if you do some research ahead of time and you actually help your potential clients understand exactly what you're going to do from either on the buyer side or the seller side, and try to give them some things to look out for if they meet with somebody else. And on the listing side of things, when I took that listing, I was like the last agent that they met with. So they had data who they'd already met with, so they were like, okay, yeah, we're definitely going to list with you. They're like, we're tired of hearing about CMAs, and that's one of the things that Todd talks about is, don't do just a CMA, but actually, truly look at what the market is doing in that area, in that micro system of real estate versus, for me, Roanoke in general. It's like, look at that zip code, look at that street, look in that neighborhood. And most agents aren't doing that. And I found that in negotiations with other agents. The guy said, oh, well, your house that you're negotiating on is comparable to this house. And I'm like, okay, let's use that as a comparable then. So that one's, say, $50 a square foot. That means we should be offering you $118,000 instead of $125,000 is what we offered you. So if you want to go that route, let's do that. That'll make it better for my buyers. So it's like, and that's what one of the things I differentiate on too is like negotiation is we're going to be serious about negotiation. We're going to really look at numbers, and we're going to be very specific versus generalist in that regard.
Yep. Those are some great ways to set yourself apart and differentiate from the average agent. I'm getting a little bit of feedback here that our video, our tech might be a little slow here. So if I'm not sure there's a whole lot we can do about it, but we'll keep our eye on those things here for sure. Let me see something real quick. Sorry about that, folks. This happens every once in a while, and we can't control all the tech, but I think we're still good. I think we're just getting a couple little slow spots. But one of the other things that I kind of noted, and I want to come back to a little bit, is just that confidence deal. You may be watching us right now, and you may be a brand new agent, or you might be a team leader that's a heavy rainmaker and a big hitter, but you're looking to train people on your team to do these same things. And a lot of times what happens is it's hard to build confidence until you have some victories, right? In our office, we say success is contagious. So winning produces winning, right? Setting appointments gives you the confidence to set more appointments. But what we're talking about right here is whether you're a new agent or you're training a new agent or you're implementing something new, you can build confidence without having to go out and get some wins. You can build confidence by having a plan, by being confident before you get to the appointment. I know what value I can offer, and I know what the quote-unquote competition is offering, or even ignore the competition. I know what value is actually produced by the value that I'm going to offer right now. I know that if I stage the house, it's going to sell this much quicker or for this much more. Speaking of that, next month our hangout, I'm going to bring on the most expert person I know in the world of home staging and how to impact the sales price and the speed. So I'm going to have my guest next time will be, it'll be great for everybody to help you build the system to sell houses quickly and for top dollar. But we'll talk more about that. But just that idea of building your confidence or training and equipping somebody else to build their confidence, I think it definitely comes best from getting in the game and winning and getting some deals done and homes sold. But you can build that confidence also through being educated and being equipped and practicing and preparing and having a good game plan. And that's kind of what Hal's talking about. So
Absolutely.
Here's something a question I want to ask you, Hal. And if you don't have an answer to this, that's okay. But I'm just curious, kind of what your thoughts are. I think along the same tone of having confidence when you might not naturally have it, is knowing what to say when you don't necessarily know the best answer to the question, right? So what we're talking about today is kind of what to say and when to say it to get clients, right? Well, sometimes you just don't know what to say. Sometimes you don't have the perfect answer, right? So what I try to help people do when I have some time to work with them is, what do you do in those scenarios where you're just not a top-level expert in that one niche area or that one side of things yet, right? So what do you do, Hal, or have you picked up anything yet from me or from anybody else that helps you handle those scenarios where you might get a question or you might be in a scenario where you're not 100% sure? How do you respond? And if you don't have a great response, that's fine. I'll give you one.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So for me, I try to do a whole lot of research, analysis, try to stay abreast of, where I am, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And, I'll try to, instead of trying to be real specific about the answer, I'll try to still be honest and give them what I actually have experienced or what my belief is in that regard. Or, it's just me, myself, and I. So it's like, but I do, my broker can answer questions, that type of thing. So, and then, I'm a part of the Real Estate Growth Systems Facebook group, so with Todd, I can ask him a question as well. So normally what I'll do is, if I have to and I really don't have an answer, I'll say, hey, part of me is, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find it out, and I'll find out as expeditiously as possible, and from somebody either from my team from the firm I work with, or from another professional that's maybe experienced that before. And I don't say it's not because I'm a new agent, but it's just like, I've never come across that before, but I'll be happy to find the answer out for you and get back to you. So that's kind of what I do right now, because I don't know a lot of the answers, and that people respect that.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. Here's some languaging that I'll share with everybody that I think you could really benefit from. We have a policy on our team that hopefully you have on your team, but we're never going to lie. We're not going to stretch the truth. We're not going to deceive or distort. There's no need to do that. There's too much opportunity to offer real, legitimate, genuine value with character and integrity. So you just don't need to lie. But if you find yourself getting asked a question that you just don't have the answer to, one of the things that I love about real estate is it provides us the opportunity to be specific when specifics are beneficial, and general when generalities are beneficial. And that's not a cop-out. What I mean by that is sometimes the global real estate market data is valuable. More often than not, this is important, right? So we talk about hyper-local or micro versus macro, but the languaging I'm about to share with you allows you to utilize both to constantly be an expert, to potentially strategically buy yourself some time to go get a better answer, to give a good answer, but to go get a better answer. So one of the things I say a lot is there's really no such thing as normal, right? And more often than not, the averages are liars. And what I mean by that is no one thing is average. The average is a calculation of 20 or 30 or 10 or 2 or 3 things, right? So if somebody says, if one of my brand new buyer's agents is out showing a property and a prospective client says to them, well, what's the average price per square foot in this neighborhood? They don't really know the exact answer. they're not going to lie and say that they know. They're not going to say 94 when it's really 81. They're going to say, well, let me give you a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, you have to be really, really careful with averages, especially when it comes to pricing, because every house in this neighborhood is unique, and each one needs to be valued in a case-by-case situation. So when I get back to the office, I will do a custom valuation on this property for you, and I'll get you an answer to a better question. I'll get you the answer of what is this house worth. Now, if I had to give you kind of a general rule, I would say that homes in this neighborhood could be priced anywhere from $80 all the way up to $110 a square foot. Now, if you see what I did there, I gave them a really general answer that I know is accurate. It's not really accurate enough to be actionable. We're not going to make an offer based on anywhere from 80 to 110.
Yeah.
But I'm telling the truth, and I'm actually offering valuable info to say, look, literally there are homes in this neighborhood that could sell anywhere from 80 to 110 because there's just so many wild variables that affect value. So a couple of quick languaging patterns you can use is, there's no such thing as normal. So let me go back and get you a very specific answer to that question after some analysis. I would never just give you my gut response because things change every day, every minute, every hour. But I can tell you generally this, right? So there's no such thing as normal. Averages are generally liars, which means if I give you an average, it's not going to be true about this one property, so be careful with that. And I will get you a custom analysis on that. Or I will personally dig in and get you an answer to that. Or I will check the absolute most recently FHA jumbo loans were at $417,000, but these things change day in and day out. So let me go back, double check the most current information I've got, and I'll get you an exact answer. But the last time I checked, this is where it was. See how you can protect yourself from saying something that's not true? You can still give an answer, but you can offer even more value by offering a really custom, I'm going to go spend some valuable expert time in getting you that answer. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
So it's part of that process of you either as a new agent or as an agent launching into a new niche area or as an experienced agent training a newer agent. It's good languaging and strategy to keep yourself from being either tempted or compelled to maybe give an answer that you're not sure about, or just to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that. Let me go get it for you. But I think it's better to give some value, but say, let me go back and get you even more specific value, and I'll come back with that. So that's one of the ways that I would recommend you do that. And again, that's a confidence builder in that you don't have to find yourself cornered simply saying, I don't know all the time. So
Sure.
I'm just checking time here. I think Matt's having maybe some technical issues too. I'm not exactly sure what's causing it, but I'm getting notes that most folks can still hear us. So let's just keep rolling here. Here's a rebuttal, or rebuttal is not my favorite word, but here's a response that we get, and I know people all over the country get a lot when it comes to dealing with a prospect or a potential seller or buyer. We're not ready yet, or I'm waiting until fill in the blank. I'm waiting till summer. I'm waiting till fall. I'm waiting till spring. Whatever. So here's a strategy of some ways to kind of think about that. And Hal, I know you and I have talked about this a little bit too, so I'll go ahead and open it up to see if you've had a chance to use some of this stuff. But how to overcome we're not ready yet is, I can appreciate that. Chances are you're never going to be ready until you've had a chance to really put together a really good game plan based on all of the information that's available to you, based on all the opportunities and all the threats, all the risks that are out there in the marketplace. So, what I'd suggest, Hal, is, a really good idea for us to sit down together. I'll give you 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, whatever you need of my time, no charge, no obligation. And what we can do is put together a game plan for you and just determine basically, what does your budget look like? What's the right timeline for you? What are the things that we should definitely avoid? Should we move quickly? Should we wait? And then once we have a game plan together, you'll know what the best next steps for you are. What I'd hate to have happen is for you to think that the best thing for you to do is to wait, and then after waiting, find out that really the best thing for you would have been to make a decision 2, 3, 4 months ago. So what we know today, we know as fact. As far as what's coming down the road, we can make some pretty educated guesses, but we just don't know for sure. So my recommendation would be that we get together, we get a good game plan together, we get a good game plan in place to understand all your needs and what's important to you. And then whether taking action now or later is best for you, we'll determine that when we get together. So that's one way of saying, I'm not ready yet, or we're going to wait, is not wise. It doesn't mean we need to buy now, but we should definitely get a game plan together now. Does that make sense, Hal?
Oh yeah, most certainly, yeah.
Cool.
For buyers and sellers.
Have you had opportunities yet to put some of that in action?
I haven't. I was back in the fall. I was getting that a lot. Like, oh, we're gonna list. We're gonna wait till after the holidays, or we're gonna wait till the spring, and that type of thing. So I haven't been prospecting or really lead generating or anything here lately. So I haven't really run into that objection per se. So that's definitely good for me to reminder and utilization.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get busy with some transactions, but you got to remember to keep hustling after it. But so, and you're right. This is the time of the year where a lot of people are, everyone's optimistic about spring, and their attitude is, they're not really wanting to wait as much. Now's the time they're wanting to take action. But you'll still hear it when you're prospecting. We're going to wait till summer. We're going to wait till this. And the game plan approach, now's the time to get a game plan together. The game plan might say that we should wait, but let's do that now. That'll be your advantage. The other thing you can talk about, of course, is the cost of waiting. And most people around the country right now are in markets, whether they're a great market or a decent market. Most people are in a market that's better than it was, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so, quick languaging on that is: have you guys considered at all the cost of waiting? Home prices are generally rising. Most of the economists that I trust are saying that interest rates are probably going to rise. And so if those two things happen, buying a house 3 or 4 months from now, maybe 6 months from now, is probably going to be a higher price, and the cost of borrowing is going to go up. So today, if our budget's $250, the house that we can buy for $250 6 months from now might be the house that's a $175 house right now, or it might be the house that's a $225 house right now. So I'm not saying we need to buy right now, but I think the smart choice would be for us to get together and evaluate what might be the actual hard cost if we did wait. And let's determine what that is and make sure that that's a cost that you're willing to bear. And if it is, great. I'll be here whenever the time is right. That's some languaging that we use all the time. I'll be here whenever the time is right. There's no rush for me. I just want to make sure I put you in the absolute best position to get the best house at the best price. Or the same thing for sellers, right? You can kind of flip all that information for sellers. Waiting might be the best move for you, but we might lose buyers. Right now, your house at $250 is in their price range. If prices go up, if interest rates go up, we might actually reduce the population of people that can afford your home, which actually be a negative. So anyway, there's a couple of pieces of languaging there that can be really advantageous for people that are trying to push you off and say, I need to wait, I need to talk to my spouse. Speaking of spouses, there was mine.
Yeah.
I need to wait. I'm waiting on seasonality. I'm waiting for summer. I'm waiting for this or that. So, do we have any questions rolling in, Matt? Oh, I think we have Matt back.
Yeah, I'm here. I haven't seen any questions come across. I'm just making sure there's nothing posted on the Google Plus page, but I don't see them. I know there was one thing, Todd, that you wanted to get to before we closed out. We've got about 10 minutes. How do you go about turning about the worst prospects into the best clients? Make sure
okay. So this is something that so a lot of people have this kind of just the quote-unquote next approach, right? So if someone's difficult, next, forget them. Next, just go generate another lead. Next. In my experience, some of the absolute worst prospects have ended up being the best clients, the best advocates, the best referring clients, because if you're able to overcome that initial pushback, that initial frustration, then they can become really great clients. Now listen, if they're a jerk and they persist at being a jerk, let them go be a jerk working with somebody else, right? But there's a very simple strategy that I would call finding a common enemy, right? Finding a common enemy. So if you're prospecting for expireds or for sale by owners, or even you're following up on buyer leads, and you've got somebody that's just being difficult, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to talk to realtors right now. The worst thing you can do is say, well, have you heard about my newfangled product? Have you heard about my new offer? Okay, every once in a while that will work. But finding a common enemy, what I mean by that is getting on the same side of the table as them and pointing with them and saying, you know, you're right. I would be angry at agents too. You know, listen, I hear the frustration in your voice, and I understand that after being on the market for 180 days with no offers and no check in your pocket, I would be ticked off also. So you know what, Mr. Cohn, I don't have any issue with you yelling or you being upset. What I would like, if it's okay with you, is about 1 minute of your time to explain how we do things differently. You know, I think you'd be crazy to go through what you just went through again, and I know you don't want to do that. So I'm sure you have 5, 6, 7, 8. You might have had 30 or 40 people call you today and tell you basically the same thing. Hey, look at my marketing. I'm going to come out to the house and I'm going to get it sold for you. Well, we do things a little bit differently. So I'd like to show you how I agree with you. The normal approach to real estate is terrible. I'm having to apologize for agents over here left and right. Unfortunately, in our industry, if you can fog a mirror and come up with about $800, you can get a real estate license. And so I don't want to put you through that again. But if you still want to get your home sold, if you would still like a big fat check in your pocket, I think it would be smart for you and I to have a conversation about how I can actually take all that off your plate and handle it for you and get you the check that you wanted when you tried to do this the first time. What do you think? Does that make sense?
Oh, that sounds better.
Yeah. So I call that finding a common enemy, right? So it doesn't always work. Like I said, if someone's a jerk, let them be a jerk. But a lot of times the guy that's like, you know what, are you a realtor? Just please tell me you're a realtor. You call on my house at 8 a.m. And you say, you know what, I understand that you're angry, and if I were in your situation, I'd be angry too. As a matter of fact, I am a real estate agent, and I totally understand that right now you might want to throw a rock at every real estate agent that you see, and I understand that. And what I'd like to tell you is that you have every right to be angry right now. From what I can tell, your house was on the market for 362 days. It looks like a beautiful home, and somebody probably told you with a lot of confidence that they could sell it, and they didn't. Am I getting warm?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right, so what I'm doing is I'm just saying, look, you're not wrong to be angry. I'm not going to try to stop you from being angry. I'm angry with you. I'm ticked off that I'm a real estate agent and every other moron driving around town in their leased Lexus with their magnet on the side and their name tag on is making me look like a moron. I'm pissed too, Mr. Cohn. So why don't you and I get together, throw some darts at some pictures of some real estate agents. While we're at it, I'll tell you how I do things differently, and before you know it, I'll give you a big fat check, and you and I can both laugh at the rest of these clowns in my industry. Would Thursday work for you?
Sure, sounds great.
Now I would never say some of those specifics, but that's the tone. Yeah. That's the attitude of finding a common enemy, of being like, you know what, you're right. This industry is ridiculous. You're right. Putting flyers out front and then going and burying myself under my desk is embarrassing. It's pathetic. Go ahead, Hal. I'm getting on my soapbox here, guys.
I was going to say that the other piece of that puzzle is, as a new agent, to not just stick to the script per se, but really listen to what your person you're talking to on the other line is saying.
Yeah. I mean, listen to what they're saying and play off of that, right? So if they're saying
exactly, yeah.
If they're saying I don't want to talk to another agent, then it's like, listen, I understand agents are driving you nuts. Like, I'm not selling a house in this market. I'm waiting a year. And then you just say, you know what? This market has been challenging. You're right. This market has been crazy. As a matter of fact, I've been in the business however long you've been in the business, and I've never seen anything like it. Or I saw this market back in '88. Whatever is true for you, but you find that common enemy and you go after it. I'm so sick of dealing with agents that open the key box and leave my house unlocked. Whatever it is, you find that common enemy and you go after it. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to share 2 other little quick scripts and things that can be valuable. Then we'll check back if there's any questions, and if not, I'm going to pick Hal's brain just a little bit more. But we talked a little bit earlier about how to make your competition remove themselves from consideration when they don't even realize that they're competing, right? So here's a couple of very quick short phrases that you can use if you have some suspicion that another agent has come in before you, or you don't want to do this, but if for some reason you're in a position where some other agents are going to come in after you, right? So here's a quick phrase. Ready? Unfortunately, some agents are still fill in the blank, right? You know, like Hal brought this up. Unfortunately, some agents are still pulling 2 or 3 comparable properties, averaging the price per square foot, calculating it times your square footage, and saying, you know, Matt, here's what your house is worth. And if somebody does that for you, I would recommend that you just kind of smile, nod, and then casually escort them out of the door, because that's very, very risky. In my opinion, that is a cop-out. It's a huge disservice to the client. It may not even be their fault. It may be an error in their training, but it's going to hurt you. So if that's how somebody approaches it, you know, very respectfully and kindly, just decline to go that route, because it's gonna hurt you. You can just see how that's gonna work when the next guy comes in with his bright red. Look at the comps I pulled, and they're like, oh, here we go. Yep, you know, Hal told us about this. Okay, here's another one. Okay, sadly, a lot of agents don't understand fill in the blank. You know, sadly, Hal, a lot of agents really don't understand what the timing of the market really does for us. You know, the way that I market a home in March is wildly different from how I would market a home in November, right? So it shouldn't surprise me anymore. But after 14 years of doing this, unfortunately, it's just astonishing. It's a one-size-fits-all world out there, and I just refuse to do business that way. So I'm excited that you're looking for a better way, because that's what we're going to do for you.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. What do we have? Like 3 minutes left. What do we need to tidy up here, Matt? What are we missing?
So we don't have any questions from the audience that I can see, unless they're just not coming through correctly. And I apologize if that's the case, guys. If you're trying to submit questions, so we're not seeing them. But I know, Todd, you wanted to give away some of the notes and the specific scripting from this call today, so tell them how they can do that.
Yeah, okay, so if you'll go to toddsgifts.com, TODDSGIFTS, toddsgifts.com, I'll tell you up front, it's very basic. It's just my general outline and some of the kind of quick 1 or 2 word thoughts behind the scripting. I'm happy to share any of the specifics, but this will be recorded. So, you know, my main goal is just come back and re-listen to it, and you'll be able to hear the exchange and the tone of that scripting. Obviously, I'm happy for you to have it, but the notes I'm giving you are kind of the main things I wanted to cover, and the 1 or 2 kind of bulleted word idea, mindset, wording behind what we've talked about. So toddsgifts.com, all you have to do is put in your email, and we'll just email it to you. That's how we'll give it to you. And then definitely come back and listen to the recording. People have been asking me after these, Matt, if they can share this. Definitely send this link to anybody you want. It doesn't bother me one bit. Post it on Facebook, share it in your office, use it to train your team. You're welcome to do any of that. So we appreciate you guys coming on. toddsgifts.com, and you can get those notes.
Perfect. And then, Hal, if anybody has referrals for you in Roanoke, how can they reach you?
Best way to reach me is just my name, Hal, Hal, .cone@kw.com. And I think my website's there too, howyourrealestatepal.com. So happy to help, and you know, doing things differently like Todd, and just you know, gonna help them as best as possible. So, and I think Todd wanted me to mention one thing. My wife went to consulting with me, and just if you got a spouse, significant other, etc., that's you know, along the journey with you, more you can get them involved and just seeing exactly what takes place on a daily basis and how the business actually run, and you're running a real estate business versus just being a real estate agent. There's a big difference, and you know, my wife was 120% on board, cracking the whip on me, making sure I did this and that, and getting you know, calendar and agendas, and you know, just organization's not my forte, but it is hers. So she's actually harnessed that and really helped me you know, continue to catapult forward.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, the point I want to make with that is just getting bought into running your business as a business. So as you guys are investing and growing and improving, if you've got a spouse or a business partner or someone that's invested in this with you, have them jump on these hangouts as well. Have them dig in with you so that they're fully bought into where you're headed. So they give you the support and the energy to really dig in. I just appreciated that Hal brought his wife out, and I thought that was really neat, and I could see how beneficial that was. So we're about to run over. So I appreciate your time, Hal. Thanks so much for being on.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Matt, and Viral Marketing. If you guys want to do video marketing or database marketing, contact Matt and the guys over at Viral, the ones that make this stuff happen for me, and they're a valuable piece of our business, and you guys should definitely be talking with them. So any parting words, Matt?
No, I appreciate the plug. Next time we're going to be talking with, like you said, your staging professional, so we're looking forward to the next one. Yeah. The details on that will be coming out, and we'll also email out a recording of this this replay, and it's also on your YouTube channel. So if anybody ever wants to go back and view these, they're all recorded. They're all on Todd's YouTube channel, publicly available, so we'd love to go back and watch the previous ones, because this is really, really valuable stuff.
Okay, thanks everybody. If we didn't get your questions, just put them on the Hangout page, and I'll get to them later. We had some technical stuff, but this was a fun one. Thanks a bunch, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
All right.
Thanks. See ya.